at fresh start moments like the start of a new week, month, year, following birthdays, following holidays that we associate with a clean slate and a fresh start. So think more Labor Day and less Valentine's Day. Those are dates that motivate us to set goals at a higher rate. We go to the gym more, we create goals on popular goal setting websites, and they can even be highlighted for us by other people, like an employer encouraging you to start saving for retirement, and motivate us to make a change at a higher rate than we would on an ordinary day.
You are listening to the Travis Luther podcast. Every week, our celebrity guests and business gurus battle Travis in a game of wit to test their entrepreneurial acumen, beat the host, and rise to glorious infamy. Lose and be banished forever. And now, it's time to enter the arena and play the games with your host, Travis Scott Luther.
I am Travis Luther, and welcome to the Travis Luther podcast. My guest today is Katherine Milkman, author of How to Change, the Science of Getting from Where You Are to Where You Want to Go. Katherine, we're just going to get right into today's celebrity biz quiz. Are you ready to get started?
I'm ready.
All right. In your book, How to Change, the Science of Getting from Where You Are to Where You Want to Go, you talk about the fresh start effect, the idea that people might be more open to change when they feel like they're making a fresh start. I also know you're a big fan of TV, using examples from Lost and 30 Rock in some of your talks. So in this game called Starting All Over Again, I thought I'd test your knowledge on some recent celebrity entertainment news and see if you can tell me which of these celebrity couples are actually making a fresh start and who is just starting all over again. Ready?
Oh no. Okay. This is not my preferred trivia zone. I'm nervous.
All right, great. So remember, two of these couples made the news for getting back together, while a third is definitely making a fresh start. So here we go. Jason Momoa and Lisa Bonet, making a fresh start or starting all over again?
I do not even know who those people are. I will admit. So let's go with starting all over again.
That is correct. It's a good guess. So while the couple separated on January 12th, the split lasted little more than 2 weeks, the same amount of time it took Aquaman to realize buying a second home in Malibu would just leave him underwater. So Jason Momoa is Aquaman. Country singer Sam Hunt and Hannah Lee Fowler making a fresh start or starting all over again?
Oh my gosh. I, again, don't know who these people are, but now I'm at a 50-50. So I'll just go with making a fresh start.
Excellent guess. 2 for 2 so far. Yes, they are making a fresh start, even though news circulated last week that Hannah had withdrawn her divorce paperwork. She attributed the withdrawal to a filing error, while her husband's inability to withdraw at all is the reason they are getting divorced in the first place. All right, final one. Ben Stiller and Christine Taylor making a fresh start or starting all over again?
I think starting all over again, because you told me 2 out of 3 would be starting all over again.
Oh, God. Way to use the stats and the data to get to the answer. Well done. Yes, they are starting all over again, though the two separated in 2017. They remained close friends, even moving in back together to co-parent during COVID. If they had followed social distancing guidelines, they may not have never gotten back together at all. All right, so let's just talk real quick about this idea of the fresh start or making a fresh start and how that helps people do a better job of changing their behavior.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting feature of the fact that when we think about our lives, we think about them as if we were characters in a book or a TV show or or a movie, and we think as if we have chapters in those stories. And so, anytime we're opening a new chapter, turning a new page because we move to a new place, or we celebrate a birthday, or we start a new job or a new year, we can see ourselves as turning the page on whatever wasn't going so well before. And we can say, I've got a fresh start. I'm making a new beginning. And that gives us the sense of a separation. And that separation gives us optimism that we can be different this time. We can achieve more. And in my research with collaborators, we found that at fresh start moments, like the start of a new week, month, year, following birthdays, following holidays that we associate with a clean slate and a fresh start. So think more Labor Day and less Valentine's Day. those are dates that motivate us to set goals at a higher rate. We go to the gym more, we create goals on popular goal setting websites. And they can even be highlighted for us by other people, like an employer encouraging you to start saving for retirement, and motivate us to make a change at a higher rate than we would on an ordinary day.
Got it. Got it. Great. All right, we're going to go into our next and final game. Um, if you are ready. Katherine, your research has been dedicated to behavior change for good. However, in our next game called Badlands, I'm going to quiz you about some bad behaviors from around the world. I'll read off 5 international bad behaviors, and you tell me which of these is an actual bad behavior and which of these are perfectly made up. Ready?
Oh, goodness. Okay.
All right. Throwing cinnamon at unwed Denmarkians. A real bad behavior or perfectly made up? These are people from Denmark.
Perfectly made up?
No, this is a real bad behavior done to single people over the age of 25 in hopes of making them smell good enough to marry. All right.
Amazing.
The Wales wasp pie, a tradition of eating bees to improve gut health. A real bad behavior or perfectly made up?
I mean, that's too creative for you to have made it up, so I think it's real.
It's perfectly made up.
Oh, you're so creative. So creative, it sounded too wild.
While the Welsh do love a deep fried ox tongue, that is true. Yellow jackets are not on the menu. Okay. Smashing a coconut on your skull in India. A real bad behavior or perfectly made up?
What would that be for? Just doing it. I'm going with made up.
It is a real bad behavior.
Oh, no!
Yeah, not so good in round 2.
I was much better in round 1, yes.
A Hindu tradition meant to implore God for success and good health, something you hope you already have before the coconut comes crashing down. All right, this is a good one. No pee-pee until day 33. A Taidong tradition of requiring newlyweds to avoid the bathroom for 3 days after their marriage. A real bad behavior or perfectly made up?
Made up? That sounds crazy.
It is crazy, and it is a real bad behavior. Maybe you need to make a
I'm
trip
0
to
for
Taidong.
4.
Breaking the rule is said to result in a bad marriage and even death, let alone the consequences for forgetting to put the toilet seat up. All right, final one. Here we go. The Croatian cradle. Teenagers are forced to spend the night in a baby's cradle when caught with their elbows on the dinner table. A real bad behavior or perfectly made up?
I'm going with made up again.
It is perfectly made up. You've got one there at the end.
Oh, phew.
Though it is considered rude to place one's hands under the table during a meal in Croatia. Well, thanks so much for playing, Katherine. I really appreciate it. Again, my guest is Katherine Milkman, the author of How to Change, the Science of Getting from Where You Are to Where You Want to Go, which was named as one of the New York Times 8 favorite books on healthy living for 2021. She is also a professor at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania and a researcher focused on behavioral change for good. Welcome, Katherine.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
You bet. I want to start right there with what is behavioral change for good and how did you get interested in this topic?
Yeah, behavior change for good has a deliberate double entendre. So there's the goal of creating a positive behavior change, right? Like improving your health or your financial situation or learning something new, improving your productivity at work or your relationship. So that's one of the forms of behavior change for good. But for good is also meant to mean in a more permanent way, right? Not temporarily, but really creating change that lasts. And I created this research center, the Behavior Change for Good initiative, in collaboration with Angela Duckworth, who's the author of the wonderful book Grit and a brilliant psychologist and researcher at the University of Pennsylvania. We both were really interested in the question of what is it that makes change last, and how can we improve the science on this topic. So we co-founded this center about 5 years ago. We started doing work together on this topic longer ago than that, but it gelled into a center. And the book that I wrote, How to Change is a first attempt to really put together all the things we've learned from our many collaborators on this research and from the work we've done together for a wide audience, so that not only can the insights help academics and advance science, but actually individuals who want to make change in their own lives.
Got it. Well, my community is entrepreneurs and business owners, my community and my listeners, and I gathered a lot of great stuff from your book. I was hoping you might share with us what's one specific benefit that I'm sorry, what is one specific change or behavioral change that you found in your research that has really benefited companies and entrepreneurs specifically?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. I actually think the first game show you did was about the fresh start and the power of these moments to be transformative for us when we have goals. And actually, there's some wonderful ways that I think that work has helped organizations, because once you recognize that there are moments when people are more open to change than others, you recognize that they're predictable and systematic and that you can plan around them, then there's a big opportunity to try to encourage the people who work at your organization or even your customers to make changes that will be beneficial for the organization's outcomes. Google, which is certainly not a startup anymore, but once was, has used this by building a moments engine where they will nudge employees to make changes or try new things, or level up in terms of their educational plans inside the organization. At moments that feel like fresh starts. And there's also actually a Google spinoff called Humu that I think is a really neat organization that tries to digitize a lot of the HR tools that a bigger organization might build out themselves, but they'll offer this to companies that want to use a digital tool for managing employees, wellness, health, productivity, and so on. And Humu also looks for moments when people are going to be ideally attuned to make a change. Fresh starts are ideal moments for pushing new ideas, pushing new training programs, and so on. So those are a couple of ways that organizations have used fresh starts.
One of the parts of or I'm sorry, one of the areas of the book that I felt especially attached to was behavior change for dealing with failure. And as entrepreneurs, we deal with failure, if not daily, at least weekly, certainly monthly, and many times during the year. So, what is something that you uncovered about helping people change their behavior to be more resilient when facing failure?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, actually, I want to point to the work of Carol Dweck, who's a brilliant psychologist at Stanford University, and she's done amazing work on the importance of having a growth mindset when you are building something new or taking on anything new. I think it's particularly important. It's particularly useful for entrepreneurs. So she contrasts these two mindsets that you often see in people. One is a fixed mindset, and that would be sort of interpreting the world as one in which you have a fixed set of capacities. You have fixed intelligence, and you have fixed ability to be productive. You have fixed ability to achieve in any domain. And when you have a failure, if you have a fixed mindset, you're going to interpret that as teaching you, well, I guess I'm not that good at this because everything's fixed. On the flip side, there's another mindset that many people adopt, and you can change your mindset, and that's a growth mindset. And a growth mindset says there's nothing in this world really that's fixed. Everything I can grow at. My intelligence isn't fixed. I can improve through work, through education. My productivity level isn't fixed. I can grow that too. And once you have a growth mindset, when you get negative feedback, when something goes wrong, instead of interpreting it as, oh, this is just who I am, you start to interpret it as a chance to learn and improve. And you say, okay, this didn't work out, but what can I do next time that will mean I get better? And a growth mindset turns out to lead to all sorts of better outcomes than a fixed mindset, not surprisingly. And when we can encourage people to adopt a growth mindset, the people around us, and encourage ourselves to have a growth mindset and look at things from that perspective, we can get a lot farther.
Outstanding. Well, Katherine, I'm a member of EO, the Entrepreneurs Organization, and I know that you're coming to our Global Leadership Conference at the end of April. You're going to have over 10,000 in-person and virtual attendees. What would you tell them about why they're not going to want to miss your talk?
Well, hopefully by the time my talk is over, they'll have a whole bunch of strategies that they can use to make more positive change in their lives. So the tidbits we've talked about, like finding fresh start moments and encouraging people to make change at those moments, and developing a growth mindset are just a small fraction of what people will hear about. Another one to just leave you wondering about is many people make a mistake when they're thinking about the most effective way to achieve a long-term goal. And some people think about pursuing it in a way that will be really efficient, and other people think about pursuing it in a way that they will enjoy in the moment. And I will just leave you wondering which of those actually leads to better outcomes, and tell you that a lot of us make mistakes.
Outstanding. Well, I can't wait to find out. I'm looking forward to seeing you there in person. Again, my guest is Katherine Milkman, the author of How to Change: The Science of Getting from Where You Are to Where You Want to Go. Katherine, if my listeners want to find your book, where should they go?
Probably the best place to find it is you can find it on any bookstore,
Mhm.
any book website, but you can also find my website, which has links to all those sellers. It's Katy Milkman, and just like the guy who delivers the milk, .com. And you can find me on all the social media platforms if that's easier.
Awesome. All right, Katherine. Well, I really appreciate it. I look forward again to seeing you at the end of April in Washington, D.C., and you have a great day.
Likewise. Thanks so much.
You bet.
You've been listening to the Travis Luther podcast with your host, Travis Scott Luther. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. And if you like what you hear, please leave a review. For show notes, the archive, and more, please visit www.travisluther.com. Until next time, tally ho.